We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route and how fast. Almost all the world's constitutions are documents in which governments tell the people what their privileges are.
Hey everyone, welcome once again to yet another episode of Two Noobs Talking. It's episode 61, and yes, we've added a third noob, more on that later. But for now, with me, as always, is my regular co-host, my regular compatriot, an all-around genuine good guy, Mr. John Tracy. John, how you doing this afternoon, brother?
Stuck in a smaller box, I don't understand.
I know, it's crazy. We're like in a row here. What the heck?
Weird, I don't know. We hired these midgets and minions to do things, and they put us in these situations. I don't understand.
Gotta just figure it out. And over to my right is our regular contributor to Two Noobs, Mr. Steve Murray. Steve, how are you this afternoon, sir?
Dude, that new intro music makes me want to smash you over the head with it.
Seriously, right? We want to thank you for that. That was an awesome intro, by the way, and the outro.
Do that for you guys.
Awesome. I'm, of course, Matt Craig. We're really happy to have you with us. And, gents, as obviously, as I mentioned, it's episode 61. Few players wore 61 in the city of Philadelphia. We came up with a pretty interesting list, did we not, John?
I think so.
Yeah.
I just want to say, just to give Steve's ire again, Maxime Fenagana for the Buffalo Sabre fans. That's all I had.
He of the being crushed by Dan McGillis fame. Yes.
He was a minus player too, John. I'm not so sure I would want him on my team. Yeah.
But he was the only one I could think of. 61 that was all I had at 61. I'm like, that played for Buffalo. That's all I had.
Go figure. But we did have a few 61s. Chanho Park was a pitcher for the Phillies. I think he came in 2009, if I remember right, gents. But yeah.
During the Moore favorite team.
Yeah.
08 was a great team. I liked 09 better.
Yeah. 09 was just a terrific year. They just didn't finish that. Of course, beating Yankees would have been amazing. But on the Eagles side.
They brought, on Channel Park, they brought him in to be a starter, and it didn't work out. So they moved him to the bullpen.
Yeah.
And he was terrific.
Terrific out of the bullpen, yeah. He was kind of like middle relief, I guess. Like 6th, 7th inning, I guess.
Yeah.
He definitely wasn't. Yeah, he wasn't the back two, but he was the guy. It was always in there.
Yeah.
In a tight situation where you had to pull the pitcher. He was like the first guy they went to in 09.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But then on the Eagles side, mostly you find 61, obviously, on the offensive line. And we had a couple of really good ones. Steve Everett, for one.
Phenomenal center.
Yeah, 97 to 99, kind of in that building of Andy Reid's, really the organization. He was a real good center for Cleveland, Baltimore, that kind of deal, and was really good for McNabb, that kind of deal, and, was really good. But then we also had Steven Wisniewski that wore it for the Super Bowl champion Eagles.
And he's got a chip.
Yeah.
The one thing about Everett is I always think of him as he was the starting of the Eagles having a great offensive line for the last however many years they had. Like, he was that first, free agent or trade or whatever brought in. It was like, oh, man, that guy can actually play. They're going to do something with the line.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been like that.
Really ever since, yeah.
Brooks and bringing in drafting Trey Thomas, bringing in John Runyon. It was kind of the start of that.
It really was. That's a good point, yeah.
Was Steve Everett the bridge to Honey Buns?
I think so.
Or was somebody there before it was?
Because Honey Buns was the guard next to Everett, wasn't he? Until Everett left, and then he jumped over.
I don't think so.
No, I
Fraley
think
was always a center.
Fraley, I think, came in later.
So was it Jamal Jackson?
Might have been. I'm trying to remember.
Jamal Jackson was a center too.
Yeah.
Bubba Miller was also a center.
Bubba Miller, yeah. It's funny we mentioned that now because in 2000, I mentioned in pre-production right before we started recording, I watched the Pickle Juice game, Eagles Cowboys in 2000, and Bubba Miller was the center in that game.
Right.
So
I was at the preseason game where we lost him for the season.
Oh, really?
I literally sat in my seat. I took my dad to a preseason game. We sat in the seat. I think it was against the Jets.
Oh, jeez.
Sat down 5 seconds later. Whistle blows. Dude's on the ground. He's out for the season.
Oh, my gosh.
Not Bubba Miller in a preseason game.
In a preseason game. Oh.
It's terrible.
But then on the Flyer side, On the Flyer side, Steve, you had a couple, right? I mean, we were looking that up.
Justin Braun currently wears 61.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed you don't have him in your little overlay here. You had something Eric. Couldn't fit Justin Braun in there?
Well, Justin Braun, and then Philippe Myers wore it before he got, I think he was, briefly, yeah. And then I think he wore 5 or something. Yeah.
I think his call-up number was 61, and then he was like a permanent figure he changed to 5.
The good old, here you go, kid. Welcome to the show.
Now, gentlemen, 61 also, there are those who believe that 61 is still the single-season home run record. Because certain unmentionables who broke that number tended to be of the steroid persuasion.
That's the nicest way to say they were juiced. All 3 of them.
But then there are those who consider that 61 should not be the single season home run record. It should be 60 because, as I recall, Maris required an extra game to hit 61. But then there are those who think Babe Ruth doesn't deserve the single season home run record because he played during the segregated era, which just leads to the one conclusion: I am the single season home run record.
Well, you break it all down like that makes sense. Yeah. Makes total sense. Exactly.
I dare you to disprove it.
That's only a little bit about fact checking, right? I think that's what
Sounds like a lawyer.
Yeah, my gosh.
In fact, speaking of things that may or may not be true, depending on if I say them, I've been watching. I watch you guys constantly, even when I'm not on.
Yeah.
And
that's actually not true. I'm fact checking that. He only watches his episodes.
That's funny.
You guys have said some things in recent episodes that weren't accurate.
Oh, I've been a full hard blowhard for the last.
We're bouncing around a little bit. Yeah.
So I've taken some notes, and there are some things that you guys need to fix here. So firstly, John, we are not a nation of 3.3 billion.
Probably not.
There are, I think, as Matt correctly pointed out, more approximately 330 million, although that might be low still.
Yeah.
But we are, as far as I know, we are below 400 million. So.
Well, this means we need to fire the one holding the cue cards, so we'll take care of that.
You basically, in assuming that we had 3.3 billion people, you basically multiplied India's population by 3.
Nice. Well, at least I did something kind of right.
But then at the same time, Matt, you did some calculating and you said that it was 0.0002%.
Yeah.
I think it was 75,000 cases.
Yeah, per
day. So you divided that by 330
million. Yeah.
You came up with 0.0002%. But you forgot to multiply by 100.
100.
Per percentage. So it was actually 0.02%.
That actually happens pretty much every episode. We forget.
And this one really pains me.
Oh no!
But you guys, Fauci, he who shall not be named, he actually has a medical degree.
Was it from a Cracker Jack box?
I hope to God your listeners don't have any Cornell alumni among that might be a problem. Okay, and then just to correct you guys, so Joe Biden was not the authoritarian captain of the Queen Anne's Revenge. That was in fact Blackbeard.
Man, I always get that wrong.
Okay.
And then Matt, the high-pitched whining in your ear is not Marjorie Taylor Greene's latest conspiracy theory. That is actually a symptom of tinnitus. You might want to get that checked out.
Yeah, I don't think I have that, but I appreciate the FYI there. I don't think I have that, but yeah, I appreciate that.
So those are just some of the things you guys have said on air that needed to be fact-checked.
I certainly don't remember the Marjorie Taylor Greene comment, but I do appreciate the FYIs.
I noticed you did in fact check me on the fact that I want to fight Chris Cuomo.
Hey, speaking of, let's dive right into the topic.
Wait, I just need to get something off my chest here now.
Oh, go for it. I'm sorry.
You guys got me. Those last couple things, they weren't actually things you said. I didn't want to be a fact checker, man.
I know. It's one of the worst jobs ever because you have to
wanted-
who's checking the fact checks? Who's the fact checking the fact checkers?
I wanted to be Chris Cuomo, staring into the camera like a tool, passing off opinions as news, and abusing my media power to help my brother cover up sexual misconduct. And I would sing. I'm a douche. I'm a douche. Just a big old timey douche. And I can't think of anything to rhyme with douche, so I'm not singing anymore. I'm done.
We did not pay Steve to do that, but that was fantastic, bud.
I'll
Thank
get
you.
my invoice later.
I will definitely get an invoice later, I'm sure. We'll pay you the $20 later. But to that being said, with that beautiful intro, gents, our first topic, of course, CNN. You know, they've been under fire recently. I don't know if you've noticed. Chris Cuomo, of course, being suspended indefinitely.
On my birthday. What a gift.
Love it.
Happy birthday, John.
What a gift.
You know, and I keep thinking, like, if there was one guy you would want to box, it would be this guy.
I physically want to assault him. I might lose, but I want to at least try.
Oh, I could definitely see you doing a little bit, you know, taking him.
Definitely want to try.
Yeah.
He works out way more than I do. Just check his Instagram.
Yeah. So the suspension, just to read a little bit from the article here that comes from NPR, the suspension of the host of Cuomo Primetime. You gotta love that title.
Yeah, because that's a great show.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Very original.
Comes a day after the release of thousands of documents from the office of New York Attorney General Letitia James, showing that Cuomo used his contacts to dig into the governor's accusers. They also show he consulted with various sources to help the elder Cuomo manage his sexual misconduct scandals that led to his resignation.
Oh, yeah.
Gents, this is kind of a very interesting topic to bring up because I've brought up on this podcast before the idea that we need to kind of reform the media. Joe Rogan kind of brought it up on his podcast. I just want the news. Thank you very much. I'll make my own decisions, essentially. Paraphrasing what he said, but
that's what the new owner of CNN said, which I can see why he would be a part of suspending Cuomo indefinitely, because he's definitely not he's not a guy that creates the news. He's a guy that makes up the news.
Yeah.
So suspending him just for misconduct isn't the whole story, because he made it through this long. I think they're changing things at CNN, and this is one that we're not going to see him on air anymore. He's done. He's disgraced his shitty family.
Yeah. Yeah. And it makes me wonder too that I think my hope is that we start to see more of like Fox News, CNN actually become news, like genuine news channels, and not be the Democrat or Republican operative channels that it's becoming, or it has become over the last 15 to 20 years. Rogan made a comment on his podcast. It's like the CNN of like 15, 20 years ago is far different than what it is now. You know, that kind of a deal.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's so funny because I have like a little letter here from the White Horse Inn, which I subscribe to. It's a podcast, Christian podcast. And Ted Turner, when he launched CNN, this is a great quote. He hoped the news coverage would, quote, bring together in brotherhood and kindness and friendship and in peace the people of this nation and this world, when he launched CNN. That was a direct quote.
Sounds like a left-wing lie.
Yeah. I mean, when you hear something like that, that's kind of like, that's not exactly what a news organization should really concern itself with. It should really focus on telling us who, what, where, why, and when are.
I remember when he bought it, and then a couple years later, Rupert Murdoch bought Fox. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember where I was, but I just remember the thought I had was like, that's corporatized. Let's see how this goes. Mm-hmm. Because two guys that are completely on two different sides of the aisle, completely. They're extremists on both ends.
Yep.
They bought up two networks.
Yeah.
Fox News has done a better job in the last 15 years kind of coming back, even though they do curtail to extreme right-wing people like Bongino. Mm-hmm. He probably should. He's not going to fit in the narrative that we're trying to push. He's going to be he's going to be far right. But
Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting because to me, it's like, if we want to have the credibility in the media,
yeah,
or really the media has to restore its own credibility. This is one way to do it, is to basically
we
get rid
need
of all
that.
these operatives that are in the media now. What are your thoughts, Steve, on this, real quick?
Sorry, I wasn't listening. Well, first thing with just on Cuomo himself. I mean, was anybody really surprised?
No.
Frankly,
Not really.
And then hoping Fox News follows the CNN. We got to get some journalists. Well, they got some people they got to clear out of there for that to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. But saying media credibility, that I think is really where they've fallen the last, I don't know how many years. I mean, I think the first time I actually started reading the news, like paper, was when I was going to college and was picking up the free Metro, from the train stations. And that was really just kind of, it was a thin, you'd finish it before the train ride was over.
Yeah.
And it was just a thin paper. And it was really just like 3 paragraphs of an AP story. And the AP is, they sort of still stick to who, what, when, where.
They try.
Yeah.
But the way the media is anymore, I have a story I can relay just from this week. I saw a headline on Yahoo, which is, in and of itself not great to be a good source, but the headline read the something along the lines of the suspect in the Waukesha car incident.
Yeah.
He speaks for the first time since ramming his car into all those people. I'm like thinking, oh, okay, so he's going to have something to say or, whatever. And I click and I go in the article, and what it says is, he had a preliminary hearing. And when the court clerk asked him if he could hear, he said yes.
Sounds about right for Yahoo.
Yeah, it's pretty much it. Yeah.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Was that not a completely misleading headline?
100%. Yeah. Clickbait.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, complete clickbait.
This is what the media has become.
Yes, absolutely.
It's just
Yeah, it's just nothing but clickbait, and it's just it's so ridiculous. And it's like, I can remember, like, they misquote that. Speaking of that entire incident, that is a horrific incident, obviously, but they some of the headlines were like, an SUV ran,
not a person
was responsible for running these people over. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, a car by itself cannot move without an operator, right? I mean, by God, and it's like,
Alec Baldwin said a gun can
listen,
shoot without an operator.
If you leave the parking brake up and it in neutral, it
can move, I guess.
But still human error. I've never seen a parked car. We don't have Bumblebee here.
No. Although that was my favorite. That was my favorite Transformer.
Nice.
Yeah, one of my favorites.
The cartoon.
Oh yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, Swing Beetle. Are you kidding me? Come on. Yeah,
absolutely.
Matt has never been shy about complaining about how bad the Michael Bay Transformer movies were.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Nice.
Well, let's face it. When at the beginning, when I went into that movie, I was thinking like, oh my God, this is going to be like the greatest Transformer movie ever. It's like a world of worlds clash, all that kind of big. And it wasn't even close to that.
And then Shia LaBeouf showed up.
Shia LaBeouf showed up, and Megan Fox staring into the camera for about 2 minutes, and the classic, "Wait for it. Why are you here?"
He stares at the wife here, like Megan? That.
I don't know, But yeah, that was our thoughts. I mean, it's just like the media has a very, very long way to go, gents, right? At the end of the day, to kind of restore their credibility. It kind of goes back to what I was even thinking about, really, what Neil Postman wrote in his book, Amusing Ourselves to Death. He was kind of laying the foundations of what he was seeing back then of problems with the media, being very showy, being very, glamorous, and, putting, makeup on a pig, basically. And it's kind of like, well, not much going on here other than, your integrity is going straight down the tubes because you're promoting certain narratives. And that's not what we want.
I think, and it's just probably been beaten to death a lot everywhere, but I think part of the problem is these, especially like the 24 hours news networks, where you need to have something happening all the time. They're trying to compete now with social media,
Yeah.
And so they feel like, well, the facts will get out on social media, so we have to opinionate on those facts to fill our airtime and get people to tune in.
Yeah.
They literally stole ESPN's concept on how to produce news.
Yeah.
How many times in our life have we seen somebody and somebody make a trade and it's for X, Y, and Z, and then 3 days later it turns out to be A, B, and C?
Yeah.
Because they just know, they get their source, their single source. They don't verify anything anymore because they don't have to verify anything. That's our ending thing with Denzel Washington. He talks about it like, if you read the paper, you're
as long as it's fast.
If you don't read it,
it's fast. You know, it doesn't matter if it's right, as long as it's fast.
Yeah, as long as you have it first.
Yeah.
It's not just fast, and the Cuomo thing and the Fox News guys, it's all, it's not accurate.
Yeah.
At all.
At all.
It's always got, I mean, it always blows my mind. Again, I'm gonna throw Yahoo under the bus again. You get, two people in politics sparring, like AOC and Ted Cruz are snipping at each other. And one liberal sided magazine or newspaper is going to talk about how great AOC's response and comeback was, and you read like the Fox side and it's how smart Ted Cruz looked.
Cruz was
like, they both look like freaking junior high assholes. Okay,
most of the time, yes,
exactly.
Do your fucking job. Okay,
exactly.
Legislate. Stop with this bullshit. And it's the news people that are feeding into it because they try to blow these people up into something bigger than they actually are.
Exactly.
They're celebrities instead of public servants, and that's where it needs to stop.
That's where, I was just going to say, like, Washington, D.C. is like Hollywood for, like, poor people, essentially. That's exactly what I've heard Washington, D.C. to be. And that's exactly what it is, that kind of deal. But let's move on, gents, to topic 2. And this was a very fascinating. All three of us are huge space fans. We love it. And so we found this article very interesting. What were you looking at, John? I'm sorry.
It's the asteroid.
Oh, the asteroid? Oh, yeah. Apparently, there is a 1,082-foot space rock that's heading Earth's way. Should skim past us on December 11th. So
for reference, that was, I believe, the article said Eiffel Tower sized or something.
Yeah, well over 492 feet.
For perspective.
Long. Yes. Will come within. I was wrong on this in pre-production. I'm reading it now. It will come within 4.6 million miles. I thought it was 2. I'm correcting my own fact checking. How about that?
There you go. Look, you're fact checking yourself now.
This is checking myself in the episode. How cool is that?
I fired the cue card guy, so I can't really talk that much.
4.6 million miles of Earth, this asteroid's going to come, which is in the potentially hazardous category, gents, and according to NASA. But it's not expected to impact Earth, obviously. It'll shoot past our planet at 14,700 miles per hour and is expecting the space rock to stay 2.4 million miles away from us. That's where the 2.4 comes from.
So we're going to get a nice thick breeze off the coast of California. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, pretty
much. Sounds like
yeah.
OSHA wrote that, not NASA. That's what it sounds like.
It's essentially 10 times the distance between Earth and the Moon, so that was very, very interesting.
So is the Moon in danger, or we're not talking about the Moon? Okay.
I guess not. I guess it's going to like skim by us, but it's not going to be life altering or life shattering, or like we're not going to send Bruce Willis up there to knock him.
I'm glad they wrote that article because it seems like
Which I don't know about you guys. Every time one of these articles comes out, I automatically think of Armageddon every single time.
Exactly, because that's all we have.
And Steve Buscemi goes up there. Are you kidding me? Come on, it's like it's the greatest movie of all time. It's like one of the best.
Every time I wake up and see it, I'm like, "Where's Ben Affleck?" I wonder. Who's he dating now? Because he needs to go.
Exactly. But I mean, it's fascinating. They say here, NASA considers anything passing within 120 million miles of Earth a near-Earth object, or NEO for short.
That's 120 million miles is farther than the orbit around the sun.
I have a question though. Okay, since
Go
they
for
have
it.
these beautiful things, how much does the dude get paid that made that up?
Yeah.
Because like they have a standard and practices, and they're like, okay, so a near Earth event. What are we going to call it? And then the dude goes back to his people, and they're like, well, it's got to be something cool. It can't be too cool. What does that? I want to know what that guy gets paid, because that's like the biggest bullshit job ever.
He's probably making about $80,000 a year, John, I would think.
That's not bad. Are the benefits good at NASA? I live pretty close. I mean,
A lot of brainstorming, probably good meetings, whatever. You take different, ideas from other people.
You guys got to be good at math, which has shown.
Yeah, I'm terrible.
We're terrible at that. Yeah, exactly.
I know Fauci's full of shit. I just don't know the math on it.
They said potentially hazardous in that article.
Potentially hazardous.
Was that because of the size?
Probably.
I would think so, yeah. And the fact that it's, quote unquote close to us, that kind of deal. Because it's saying like if it changes in its trajectory just slightly, it could potentially be really.
Oh well,
bad.
Sure, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Get gravity affecting it from all over the place.
Oh sure, yeah.
An Eiffel Tower size asteroid that would be problematic.
That would make some motions.
Pretty good punch, yeah.
It would not just for your local government. That would be That would
Well,
be
I mean, let's
pretty
face it,
substantial
coronavirus
impact.
should be done with, really. At the end of the day,
It's not. I don't think it would be a global killer.
I don't think so either. Yeah.
That's more like dinosaur time. That was the one that hit Earth during the dinosaurs was about 6 miles wide. They figure.
Oh wow.
Something more than a mile is probably a good chance you're not going to have much surviving. But Eiffel Tower size might cause some unpleasant winters. For
Makes sense.
Years,
Interesting.
Not a global.
But it definitely doesn't seem like it's going to hit us at all.
No.
I mean, when Matt made the mistake earlier to say it was going to pass within 2 million miles,
Yeah.
the moon is only 300,000 miles, so it's not even passing within the orbit of the moon. So to me, that's not.
Now, looking at it, not knowing much about much, just if it's going to pass outside the moon, that seems far.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there any? So there's nothing that's going to happen, like at all.
With this, no.
Okay, so the New York Post is concerned.
They like to throw these articles up once in a while just to remind everyone that
there's space
asteroids exists,
and to bring up Armageddon and to bring up Armageddon the movie.
I'm also gonna get political with Barack Obama real quick. It's really nice to hear NASA making comments because they got refunded after Obama. So I gotta feel good about that.
I thought there was one recently, not as big as the Eiffel Tower, but I thought there was an asteroid. It was a pretty decent size that actually flew within the corridor kind of between the moon and the Earth. But
there was something.
It is interesting you mentioned that, Steve, because later on in the New York Post article here, they say that there was an asteroid Nereus, Nereus, first spotted in 1982. And this asteroid apparently passes by Earth pretty frequently. So essentially what NASA and this Japanese space agency JAXA is considering is
they're going to try
and punch it off course by sending a nuclear missile against it or whatever. But they're basically what they call the double asteroid redirection test. So they're going to try and knock it off course by sending it out to the other part of the Milky Way.
That seems dumb.
But that's something they're considering. That's not something that's going to happen tomorrow.
I think that's a proof of concept.
I think it is too.
They're doing it because they've got something that comes by often enough, and they know what its trajectory is, that they can test that just in case something
were to
actually was coming at us. Because
that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah,
because you have reliable data.
You're concerned about their funding, John. The last I heard, I think they said NASA's got enough funding to search like 1% of the sky.
No, they do now. But they were unfunded for a while.
I mean, they cannot catch the little stuff. And even this Eiffel Tower sized, it's probably they only know about it either because they've seen it before or they've recently, came across it. It's hard to find that kind of stuff in space, so we don't know for sure what's coming our way ever. So better to be prepared. Did the article actually say they were going to launch a missile?
No.
Because one of the other techniques I've heard of is like
punching
landing something on it and deploying like a giant solar sail or something like that to.
I have heard of that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you think about what happened in that movie in Armageddon, right? I keep going back to that, but it's like they drilled all the way straight down. They couldn't get all the way down to to plant the nuclear weapon to go in there, so they blew up themselves, and that blew up the entire asteroid and saved all of Earth and all of humanity. It was great. It's the single greatest movie I've ever seen. No.
Have you ever seen the other dopey movie from that summer, Deep Impact?
Yes.
I have seen that. Yeah.
Where they split the helmet and oops, the one piece still hits the Earth.
Morgan Freeman's the president. I mean, come on. That was even great.
Oh, Morgan Freeman would make a fantastic.
Oh, he's a great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he would be terrific. Yeah,
absolutely.
Later on in the article, towards the end, New York Post throws this in, gents, and I'm gonna toss this over to Mr. Murray for his thoughts. In other news, NASA has plans to put a nuclear power plant on the moon within this decade. And when I read that, I freaked out, thinking, "What the hell are we planning to do that for?"
You plant hugging hippie.
Well, guilty as charged, I suppose.
All right, well, what are you worried about? Let's
I don't know.
I'm putting you on the couch. I'm the therapist. What's your concern here?
I think
I'm just watching.
The one thing that I wonder about is why. What would be the purpose of putting a nuclear power plant on the moon? Unless you wanted to go to Mars, or unless you wanted to go to Jupiter, Saturn, you needed the actual fuel. That would make sense to me. That would make total sense.
Well, I feel, just before Steve gets into it, it has everything to do with the Artemis thing that we've covered before. Yeah. It totally has everything to do with Moon to Mars.
Yeah.
That's all I had to add to that, so I'll just
Yeah, John's right. Part of launching expeditions to farther planets like Mars or beyond, the lunar base is going to become of increasing importance. And to get power on the moon, you can't use wind generators because ain't no wind blowing on the moon.
Yeah.
You can't.
We're quoting him on that one. There ain't no wind on the moon.
Blowing on the moon. Ain't no wind blowing on the moon. You can't use hydroelectric power because there ain't no running water on the moon.
Nope.
Solar is not really a valid concept. And to burn coal up there to get your electricity, you're going to have to lug all the coal up there.
Oh, yeah.
It would be a hell of a lot easier to take some uranium rods and transport them to the moon. And it's much more efficient. It's cleaner. It just makes sense from a practical perspective to put, use a nuclear power plant on the moon if you need to generate power.
Yeah.
As long as Homer Simpson isn't in charge, I'm fine. My only concern.
Why?
It's my only concern.
That's a foolproof system right there.
Exactly.
But Matt, you also told us in pre-production you were concerned about blowing the moon up. And,
I'm really not that fond of the moon, so I'm okay with it. It's there. I mean,
nice to look at.
I look at it every once in a while.
It goes through its different phases
between us. I wouldn't miss the moon if it wasn't there, unless gravity has something to do with it. It's my only.
What was the movie where they flew something and they clipped the moon and a big chunk fell out of it? I don't remember what that was.
Oh, I don't remember.
But anyway, to get us back on topic and exploding the moon.
We're never on topic when you're on.
Let me give you 101 on how a nuclear power plant works.
Go for it.
Okay. So the way nuclear power is generated is you are splitting atoms. Atoms hold a tremendous amount of energy, and when you have a uranium atom, as you probably know from periodic table, it's very high, so it has many pieces to it: protons, neutrons,
electrons. Yeah.
Okay, so the way nuclear fission works is you shoot a neutron at the uranium atom and you split it into two smaller atoms, and also when you do that, a tremendous amount of energy is released. Okay, and so the concept of a nuclear power plant is you have these rods full of uranium. And you enrich the uranium so that when you fire a bunch of neutrons in there, you get a reaction where it's constantly splitting and you're constantly generating energy. And the energy is then used to heat water into steam, which turns a turbine, which is what actually generates
all the power.
Electricity. To generate a nuclear explosion, which is what your concern was, the uranium for a nuclear power plant is not enriched enough to what you have to have for a nuclear explosion is basically a runaway reaction where it's just totally uncontrolled. Once you start the reaction, it just expands.
Expands out of control. Yeah.
And it goes out of control and you release all that energy at once in a nuclear explosion.
Which can't happen in the plant because the plant's not designed to do that.
Well, which the not the plant, but the uranium rod is not enriched to the point where you can run out of control.
Right.
Okay.
That's, when you talk about the whole concern with Iran and getting their nuclear power plants up and running was, so they use these centrifuges to enrich the uranium. The concern was, well, they're not just going to go to do it for their power plants. They're going to enrich it even more to spin up nuclear weapons.
Yes.
Which is the concern. So bottom line is, if you're building a nuclear reactor on the moon, you don't have to worry about it blowing up in an atomic bomb explosion because the uranium is not in a state where that would be allowed to happen. Now, when you have Fukushima, you had the earthquake. What happened there was a meltdown, and that's a more likely possibility.
Yeah.
That's where the uranium, your cooling system fails, and the uranium heats, the energy heats the uranium so much that it melts, and it actually melts through the containment system and leaks into the ground, and then the uranium and the other radioactive materials get into groundwater. They infect, for lack of a better term.
Is that what happened with 3 Mile Island, Steve?
3 Mile Island, I don't remember if they were close to a meltdown. I don't know if it actually.
But they didn't actually do it. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. The one in Fukushima did melt down. There was one of the reactors had the problem, but you're not going to have earthquakes on the moon. You're if anything, the worst thing that could probably happen is you get slammed by a meteor.
Yeah.
On the moon, and then because the moon doesn't have the atmosphere to burn up the little ones like Earth does.
Yeah.
So they could get bombarded a little bit, but if it happens on the moon, it's only going to affect the moon.
Well, that makes me feel. It makes me feel so much better. Thank you. That's awesome. I love talking science, and especially in space. No, seriously.
You want to know how the first atomic bombs were built? It was basically they took a chunk of uranium.
Yeah.
And they had a gun. And the gun shot another piece of uranium.
Oh no!
And just forced the reaction, and that's how those worked.
Oh my gosh!
That is interesting.
Did they fire maybe a flintlock rifle? I mean, what? It's like wow.
It was all internalized. I don't think they wanted somebody doing that.
No, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that in a very controlled environment. Exactly.
Right.
That's too funny. Well, turning to social media news, gents, topic 3. John, we're back on Twitter. My God. Noobs is back on Twitter, and we don't think we're going to go into jail.
No, definitely not. No, we went back on Twitter because we're keeping our end of the bargain.
Yeah.
Once Jack Dorsey stepped down or got thrown out or got beat up or whatever I said, we would go back on Twitter.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing when your company's shares surge nearly 10% following the announcement. That's unbelievable. But yeah, he was apparently Dorsey was the CEO of 2 companies. He also is the CEO of Square, and so he will now be doing just Square full time. But thank the Lord God, this jackass isn't a part of Twitter because he is, be perfectly honest, Twitter is a cesspool, and, quite honestly, we need to have a change in that. Yes, Mr.
May I ask a question?
Go for it.
So I cannot recall what was it about Dorsey in particular that made you guys...
I'm going to leave that to John.
It all had to do with his opposition to the 230 thing. Like, he thought it was paramount that they keep 230, and it just became apparent, especially during that time when they were doing those hearings and everything, that they had no idea what they were doing with the company, and it was just coming out constantly. Like, their privacy was just off the charts, just wrong. Like, they weren't even governing their companies properly. And that's when I was just like, well, I didn't want to be a part of social media, but of course having a podcast you need to be. So it was like pick and choose, you know. At least I didn't know anything about Dorsey as being a scumbag until much later. So that's why I know Zuckerberg is an ass. That's easy. I mean, just look at him. Pretty simple to know that he's a piece of crap. But yeah, Dorsey just as growingly, after seeing him on Rogan's podcast, that's when I made that, like, he doesn't know anything about his company, and he's got a lot of people that don't like people running his company.
Yeah.
So him stepping down is going to be good because his people aren't going to have jobs.
Article here from Reuters. Real quick, Steve. I'll let you have the floor after this. Over the past year, Twitter has fought to end years-long criticisms that have been slow to introduce new features for its 211 million daily users. Can you imagine that? And was losing ground to social media giants like Instagram and TikTok. Everything seems now to be Instagram, TikTok now on the social media side, and not so much on the Twitter side of the things. And the only thing that I could really remember on Twitter that was really huge was when they went from 70 to 140 in terms of number of characters.
Yeah.
That was like the only thing that I can remember. Everything else was pretty much, trash, at that point. But Steve, go ahead. You were going to say something.
Well, what I was going to say was that I agree with you that Twitter is really a cesspool because it's just, you get a lot of garbage. I think I've been on here before. I only follow certain people, and it's mainly for like sports
and
stuff. But I agree with you. But I didn't realize whether or not Dorsey had, does his stepping aside going to change that?
Somewhat, not fully.
It's interesting because they've gone with their chief technology officer as a CEO. He's been there for 10 years. So it'll be interesting to see like what he does. Their ad revenue is definitely down. It earns the majority of its revenue through ads on its website and its app. Reuters makes a mention here. Its ability to offer highly targeted advertising to drive product sales has lagged far behind larger rivals like Facebook, according to advertising experts. So they have lost revenue over the years. They've been kind of stale, I guess you could say, in the last few years.
Very much so.
And it's kind of, and when you have when your primary reputation is you're a cesspool, you're the worst part of humanity every single day, that's going to be a lot for that CTO now to be the CEO. He's got a lot to clean up.
Well, Dorsey was taking lumps too because of the hearings.
Oh, 100%.
He came off as a righteous, self-serving asshole. He didn't come off as... I think just getting rid of that vibe will make Twitter better because he just came off as a vibe. Like, he was not a nice person and could give a crap about people.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what my privacy settings are when he could have been affecting millions of people. Like, I don't know. I don't pay attention to that. And they were digging stuff up that was literally like, dude, you're censoring anything that you want to censor that doesn't agree with your political stuff. And he was like, oh, that's not the way it works. I don't know how it works, but that's not the way it works. And he was like constantly like making an ass of himself over and over again.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I think to your point, John, what you just said, I mean, let's just stop to think about it. If you don't like somebody on follow, you do have the option not to follow them anymore on Twitter. But they took the extra step to ban people, and that's where people really start getting up.
That was weird. That was really
weird. Yeah, it's like you do have the option as a person that if you don't like to follow somebody, you can not follow them anymore. That kind of a deal. So, I mean, it's not up to a other third party to make that call for you. You have the individual responsibility to do that. And that individual choice to do that.
Sounds like a lot of
you want to follow somebody or not. That kind of deal. So, I mean, in a way, I'm kind of glad we're back, but at the same way, it's kind of like, I don't know what we'll have to figure that out. But
Matt doesn't want to manage social media.
I'll have I'll have someone more to interact with on Twitter.
There we go.
There you go. Yeah. By the way, follow Steve on social media.
Yes. We will.
Social media, right? I mean, that's such a great tagline. I just love that. Your Twitter follow. We'll have to throw that up there.
We'll try to clip this part of the video and throw it up there. We'll try to do that.
Let me vent a little bit on that too, because of my Dr. IP stuff. I've had to try to promote it, try to branch out. I hate Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram's tough.
It is a pain in the neck to post videos or post anything. Like it's almost like they on purpose made it difficult to post from a computer.
Absolutely 100%, because I do everything from Instagram from my phone. Yeah. So
yeah. What my videos, I can't do it from my phone because that's not where I edit and do all that stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
It's a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
Facebook is a lot easier for that purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Although we would not recommend going on there live.
Yeah.
Remember, John, when we first launched Two Noobs, and we tried to do that. We did a French
never do it live.
Facebook,
oh my God.
And we just could not get off the ground with Facebook live. It was just ridiculous. It was terrible.
Well, people got to know you're there and want to see you, you know.
Yeah. No, but I mean, there were technical issues.
Yeah,
there
we couldn't technically get on. It was bizarre.
It was so bad. And then we ended up doing a Friends Live chat. Now that really was the
we did Instagram. We started doing that, and that Instagram's so much easier for that. It's so much better for interaction, not video.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Their reels are pretty simple, but still, you cannot do it off of a computer. You have to do it off of a phone. So
yeah, like I've done some posts where I've had to trick Instagrams on the browser into thinking I'm on a mobile phone.
Nice.
By like making like Google Chrome has this thing where you can, it's like a developer tool or something where you can simulate as if you're on a mobile phone.
No kidding.
Switch into that, and then from there you can sort of access Instagram's.
Oh my gosh,
that's it.
It's just so much of a pain.
Steve's throwing a secret out there that nobody knew about. Because I just gave up as soon as I was like, oh, you can't do that on Instagram on the browser. I closed it out and started doing it on my phone.
Well, look, I know how to do it, and I gave up because it's
understood.
It's a pain. So like all I do now is like I'll post the screenshot from the video and put the YouTube link on there because that's pretty much all I can use it for. But like Facebook, I can actually upload the video to play.
Yeah.
Twitter, you don't get enough time for my video.
Yeah, you get like a less than a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
well
weird.
On TikTok, it's like John and I have been really successful on TikTok.
Yeah, we get 3 minutes.
So do I. I get 3 minutes too.
Yeah, 3 minutes. That's good. I would love. I can't wait till we get a couple more TikTok followers. We've been gaining. The more you get, the more features you get, and it just becomes easier and easier to use that app. I think that's the wave of the future, to be honest. With social media and interacting with people, TikTok seems to be the way.
That's bad news for me because I hate most of what I see there.
It's also the one thing I learned TikTok being on it. I've been on it, been off it a couple times because I didn't like what I saw, but from learning it, and I'm starting to get that algorithm for what we talk about is starting to come up on the other side. So I'm feeling we're sharing more because we're getting. Now it's not like huge increase, but when you're getting 1 or 2 people a day, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. No, that's really, really good.
Yeah, that the and I think it also is bleeding into YouTube Shorts because I think people just take their TikTok video and
stick it on there. Yeah.
But my son watches just the stupidest crap.
Yes.
And there's this one guy on there who like this is exactly how his voice sounds, and it makes me want to take a screwdriver, jam it in my ear. Okay, this is how he sounds like. So I was watching this thing on TV, and it showed up there.
Oh God!
And that's and he does that for like a minute. It's terrible.
Oh no!
It's awful.
Oh shit!
And this guy's got so many viewers, and I'm like, what is wrong with you?
I don't get it. Yeah.
And then the other thing that bugs me about TikTok is like, my wife will say, "Oh, I want to do this thing that she saw on TikTok." I'm like, why do you want to copy someone else?
Yeah, be yourself.
Do
yeah.
your own original stuff.
Stuff.
You know, why are you mimicking somebody else that you've seen do it? That's just
exactly.
That's the way of the world.
Yeah, exactly.
We're a mimic society.
no wonder the world's going to a hell in a handbasket.
Exactly. It's getting better. We don't have an asteroid that's going to hit us.
No, exactly. Well, let's move on, gents, as we all do here. On topic 4, we're talking a little sports, and we're specifically talking a little Philly sports.
Because that's all we know.
We're going to throw up here a link dating all the way back to episode 48. For those, you can see that in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. But our predictions so far, the Eagles, Steve is now 6-6. I am 5-7.
Baby. I'll take it.
Yeah, I'm 5-7. John is 3-9. So, yeah, so
winning.
So it's very interesting to see. You know, the Eagles right now, they're 5-7, 5-8, I think, or something along those lines.
5-7.
They're 5-7. Okay, yeah. So, you know, they lose the game to the Giants, which is like, that's a game you should have won.
Yeah.
Particularly when the Giants are just god awful, as I figured that they would be.
I think Matt, you and I need to own something. I think John originally had them losing to the Giants.
That's correct.
But then I switched it for the Jets.
And then I think we talked you out of it.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's.
I had them because I wanted them to lose at that time. I was like, that's a total loss. But I've never been good at predictions, so I'm just gonna keep being bad at it. It's fine as long as I'm allowed in the conversation. I'm fine.
I don't know what to make of the Eagles right now. My thought is, I mean, listen, they found their identity running the football. It's great that they're doing it. I've heard Reuben Frank say, "Well, you got to throw to win." And it's like, yeah, okay, I get that too. We don't have
tired of that moniker.
The only one we've got is Devontae right now, and Dallas Goedert. And you need more people to step up. I mean, let's face it, Jalen Reagor right now is lost. It's Nelson Aguilar 2.0 right now with him. He needs to kind of bounce back a little bit. Guys, as we head to the home stretch, the Eagles, they've got to win all 5 of their remaining games, I would think, to even get a sniff in the playoffs. They're right in the mix of that last playoff spot. But even if they do, they're going up against the second seed, which I guess would be either the Packers or the Buccaneers or something like that. So they're not going to make it. Yeah, or the Cardinals. They're not going to make it. So is it worth going after the 7th, playoff spot, or do you just play it out and hope that you get a really good draft pick towards the end? What are your guys' thoughts on this? I'll go.
I think they just need to play. If you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. They need camaraderie. Is what they need. They need backup offensive linemen. They need a defense that.
Yeah.
They have T.J. Edwards, Darius Slay, Nelson. You have flashes of a defense. Your defensive line is fine, and their defensive line will always be fine. After Fletcher Cox, after Hargrave, they know how to. The Eagles organization knows how to get guys that put pressure on the quarterback. They just know how to do it. It's that more linebacker. You gotta, those safeties, those linebackers. You gotta grow. Just like the championship team when you went from Andy Reid to Chip Kelly to Peterson, there was a maturation where you had to kind of learn the style, and I think they're just going through it again with a new coach. It's not going to be this year. It might not be next year, but they might have something.
Yeah,
that's what they kind of seem like.
They have had flashes of brilliance here and there. Again, with the running game, their offensive line has just played phenomenally well in the run game. That's for sure. And they've established an identity. But yeah, it's because it's interesting. You look at it. You're right, John. The linebacking core. I can't remember the last time. Like, we don't have any linebackers. We don't. We don't have like your Seth Joyners.
Yeah, well, T.J. Edwards is like the only.
It's the closest one.
Yeah, he's like the only one on the team that I would hold over if I was, if I were to have a say in having linebackers. He's the only one that seems to be able to play in and out.
Yeah. And it's going to be interesting too. Like, are they going to go again with another wide receiver in the draft? Because you look at it, you got Devontae, and he's going to be a stud. But you've got the others are like, where are they? Like headed with this team? Rager can't catch. J-Jaw can't run routes. And Greg Ward is a former quarterback, term wide receiver, who's somewhat decent, but not necessarily.
He can't get on the field even with
He
those
can't
guys.
get on the field.
So it's like
you got Chris Watkins, but he's a project.
Yeah.
He's
That's
definitely
a couple
project.
years.
And Arcega Whiteside is the perfect person to run the same play that he's made 2 catches with. If they just ran that play once a game, he would literally finish with 100 yards.
I was just going to say, is that the square end or is that the post?
One thing where Goddard runs past him about 100 miles an hour and he turns around and nobody's there and he just catches the ball and falls down. They found the perfect play for him, but that's all he is.
Yeah.
That's all he is.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the prototypical possession receiver. Steve, I mean, if you're looking at the Eagles, what would be the number one need that you see with the team right now, overall? I mean, it is difficult, but
it's tough because I'm going to be honest. After basically what's been a full season, I'm not sure I'm sold on Hurts as the quarterback.
Jalen, yeah.
And I really wanted him to be because I like his attitude and I like his competitiveness.
Moxie and
But I've just seen him miss week after week so many basic throws, to guys who are open.
Mm-hmm. Or missing guys that are open.
Right.
Yeah.
Moving too much.
And that just it worries me that he's not the guy we need. But I don't know that the guys in this year's draft
are that guy,
are the guy. And I've heard talk of, Russell Wilson might be in play. Well, do we want to give up 3 first-round picks for
an aging
How old is Russell Wilson now?
Yeah.
He's got to be in his 30s.
He's in his 30s, yeah. Seahawks are going to be...
And we're not a team that could be like that Peyton Manning to the Denver Broncos.
Right.
We're just not that team.
Exactly.
So why would you make a move like if we were legitimately that team, if our defense was a little bit better and our offense was a little bit better and it was just the quarterback, totally make that move.
Totally make that move.
What are we going to grow with Russell Wilson?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You want to get back into the Super Bowl really quickly, you make that move. But yeah, to your point, you just don't.
If I'm Pittsburgh, I would totally do that move.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm not. You know what I mean? I'm the Eagles. I'm not as...
Let me kick out this 40-year-old quarterback, and I'll get a 30.
Yeah, exactly. Like Pittsburgh, total perfect move, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But they won't make a move like that because they've been, winning because they're smart and they know, well, we might not be that team, so we're not going to cost that.
Yeah.
We're not going to take that cost, like Steve was saying.
Yeah.
I think just to expound on Steve's point, he's very much right about Hurts, but we probably have him for another 2-3 years because there isn't really anything above it. It's like a president of the United States. There's nothing over the horizon. We're kind of stuck with what we got.
Yeah. And
so
so
I would just
build
say
around him a little bit. Yeah.
Yes. That's what I was saying. I would build a defense around him and focus more on we haven't replaced Malcolm Jenkins, which means we haven't replaced Dawkins yet.
Yeah.
So maybe that's where we need to
I mean, McLeod's up there. He's in his 30s. You kind of need to rebuild that secondary a little bit, and then address a little bit on the linebackers. Kind of build that stout defense up again. Get more aggressive on defense. Cause turnovers to come, and then you have Jalen Hurts with a short field instead of going 70 yards every time.
A free safety would probably make everything just a little bit better.
Yeah.
Like just that, because we don't have that.
No.
Rodney McLeod is what Rodney McLeod is always going to be as a strong safety.
But what made McLeod so great was that he was paired with a Malcolm Jenkins
who could double down and cover a wide receiver.
Exactly.
Cover a linebacker.
Yeah.
Cover a tight end.
Yeah.
We don't have that.
Turnovers. Be there when when errors were made. Things like that. Yeah.
If Rodney McLeod was covering a linebacker, we'd be in real trouble.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. But that's a problem because he's the only seasoned veteran, in the middle of the field. So that's going to happen every once in a while.
Yeah.
Because he's the only guy that's going to even understand. If you're running those young guys out, and that's what Epps was. I don't even know who started last game. It's a blur in using – because that defense is pretty similar to the defense we've run consistently for the last very many years.
Yeah.
Less on linebackers. They focus on secondary in the back and pass rush in the front. And when the pass rush don't get there, the secondary pays for it.
Right.
I mean, it's Jeffrey Lurie's style of defense.
Yeah.
It's been this way forever.
Yeah.
Other than the Andy Reid era, when you had Trotter and you had Dawkins, but you also had Trotter, Dawkins.
And you also had a really good defensive line back then. You were like strong on all three levels. You had Corey Simons to start, Hugh Douglas, things like that.
And when you got a guy like Jim Washburn who's coaching that defense, that defensive line was amazing.
You're talking Jim Johnson.
No, well, Washburn coaching the D line and then Johnson coaching the defense.
I'm seeing a fact checker come up here.
Oh, wait a minute. Who was? No, it was the other guy. It was oh man. He was the offensive line coach that went to defensive line.
Oh, yeah.
What the hell was his name?
You're not talking about Juan.
No, because he was offensive line. No,
Castillo.
I'm lost now. There was a defensive line coach I liked, but I understand the Jim Johnson thing is where we probably should go with it.
Yeah.
Jim Washburn was bad. It was bad.
Yeah, that was later on in the end. I'm mixing it up.
Team. Wow. That was Dream Team era.
When we had
oh
God, what was his name? The quarterback.
Juan Castillo was the coach that I remember.
But he was offensive line, and they put him the defensive line.
They put him as defensive coordinator. We're like, what?
Yeah, that was.
And then wasn't that after McDermott left?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they tried him out, and he was bad.
Yeah. Actually, McDermott was somewhat decent. He was coming in. I mean, you can't follow Jim Johnson. I mean, that's just unbelievable.
Well, that's true.
It was something. Yeah, it was a legend. Yeah. But, when you Andy was kind of going like, okay, I'll throw my offensive line guy into the defensive coordinator position. What? Really?
What was their defensive line?
And I really wanted him to succeed too, because Juan Castillo was a great guy.
He was that big wide nine guy. He was like the guys who were way out on the outside, watching the passer.
I remember his press conference. I'm like, all right, this is going to be interesting. It's an off the board kind of pick. Well, let's see how it goes. And he's like, yeah, we're going to be fundamentally sound. We're going to be fast. I'm like, all right, I love everything I'm hearing. And then the next press conference, he says the same thing. And I'm like, all right, when are we going to get to like scheme and stuff?
Yeah, what are you going to do? If you were never, but that's like, if you were never that coach, like, I understand the theory, and it was a terrible theory. Like, you're going to move an offensive line coach to the defensive line because he plays against a defensive line. No,
not defensive line, John. He was the defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
He was the defensive coordinator.
Yeah, I'm done. I could see how they would do it. It's a terrible idea, but you're right. Where was the scheme? Where was it's kind of where we're at. It's kind of where we're at with this D coordinator.
Exactly.
Like, where is what are we doing?
He's very passive.
We got a really good defensive line. We got decent corners. I like Nelson. I like Slay. Well, how do you not like Slay?
Yeah.
He's just good at what he does. I like Nelson. I like Avonte Maddox.
Yeah, good slot cornerback. But it's like the hesitancy to blitz caused panic or whatever in the offensive backfield.
If I've learned anything from listening to Seth Joyner, because he's fun to listen to.
He's just great.
And he knows football probably better than most.
Yeah.
It's the problem, because they do blitz, but the problem is, and I think he's right, they don't disguise it.
Yeah.
The quarterback, and we played a lot of quarterbacks this year who know their shit.
Yeah.
This is not
like, you're not going to fool Patrick Mahomes. You're not going to fool a Tom Brady.
No.
Things like that.
No. But so they're not even, they don't disguise. There's not enough movement, pre-snap movement and bait and switches and things to kind of disguise what you're coming after.
Yeah.
It's just kind of straight ahead. And I just don't think that works.
Yeah.
You have to, because no wonder that how many quarterbacks this year have completed over 80% of their passes?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It's no wonder, because if they know what the defense is going to do based on how it lines up pre-snap, then they know exactly where they need to put the ball, and they can do that.
6-7 weeks of the season, we were setting the records in the wrong way for giving up 70 to 80% completion. I mean, that was ridiculous. But yeah, gents, let's move on here real quick. We did not do a Flyers season preview last time we did.
Because I don't think we all had
my
we all didn't have an opinion.
Flyers right now are 7th out of 8 teams in the Metropolitan Division. Steve, you'll be very interested to know this. I looked it up here. The last time the Flyers scored more than 3 goals was in Edmonton back on October 27th when they won 5-3. Since then, they have not scored more than 3 times. They've lost a ton of games ever since. Can't seem to generate any offense. It's kind of like that old meme. You see a guy with a stick figure, and he's poking a stick at the Flyers logos. Do something, right? I mean, this team I don't know what to make of it. It's like they completely overhaul the roster, and you think everything's going to be all right, but Ellis is out hurt. The number 1 defenseman, he's out hurt with a hip.
That's big,
and that's huge. And, so again, the pressure is on Provorov to kind of perform and do well. Martin Jones has been kind of, but he's Martin Jones. He's not exactly a world beater, that kind of a deal as a backup goalie.
Look, goaltending has not been the problem at all this year.
Generate the offense.
It might be the only not problem that they have.
Maybe. That's quite possible. Carter Hart looks a hell of a lot better this season. And they started off really well.
Really well.
And they beat some really good teams on the road.
Oh yeah.
They beat Edmonton, they beat Washington, they beat Carolina.
There was a Boston win in there too.
There was a Boston win on the road. They won some games. It wasn't like they were playing the 92 Ottawa Senators, the first 8-10 games of the season.
That's a great reference.
I really don't. It baffles me a little bit how, because they've been more committed to defense. They're a hell of a lot better defensively this year. Even the games they've been losing, it's only been like 2-1, 3-1. I mean, there's the occasional one, but they're not giving up goals like they were last year.
Yeah.
One of the biggest culprits, I think, is the power play.
Oh yeah.
I think it's either one or two. If you're really going to look at it, it's either one or two in the problematic.
It is. They just
power play percentage. Just looked it up here on NHL.com. Flyers are 30th out of 32 teams.
Yep, you can't win. You can't win with that
on the power play. You can't win with that.
You can't win with that.
Yeah.
That's you could be the best penalty kill team in the league. If your power play is that far down,
just to give you an idea,
your goal differential is just you're going to lose.
Just to give you an idea, the Edmonton Oilers, of course, they have Connor McDavid.
Oh,
35% on the power play. So
35?
I mean,
35%
on the power play.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
One out of every 3.
That's also a ridiculous number.
Yeah,
that's not even fair.
That's not sustainable over a full 82 game season.
No.
When they finish at 19%, let's talk about it. Because that's where they should be. 35 is way too high.
1 out of every 3 times they're on power play, they're scoring.
The 95 Red or the 96 Red Wings weren't even that good on the power play. And they had everybody.
Yeah.
No. The
Flyers are middle of the pack though in the penalty kill. So they, to your point, Steve, they are doing very well defensively.
They're better defensively. The power play is just so bad. Like their entries are awful.
Awful.
And
I've never liked that I think it's called the slingshot, where like somebody skates it up and then turns around and passes it to the next guy coming
I'm sorry,
up.
I'm disgusted.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
And one of the reasons I hate it is because I feel like every time the Flyers do that, that's the only guy who has any speed when he hits the blue line.
Well, being a defensive hockey player and us playing hockey for a while, what's the first thing you're going to do? And just a player is going to make that move. If that's a guy with the speed, you're going to put 2 guys to push him to the outside, or you're going to push him to your defense.
Yeah.
Right. If he's the only one moving, why are you worried about that guy?
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what teams are doing. You know, because if you dump it, nobody's moving. So they're going to get the puck first.
Mm-hmm.
And if nobody's moving and you don't dump it, then the puck carrier is going to get checked by 2 or 3 guys, and the puck's going down the other way, and you got to start all over again.
Yeah, I will say this too. The final thing about this: shots against per game.
Mhm.
The Flyers 34.5 shots against.
Allowed.
Yeah, how many
30
shots
of
for?
32 in the league.
How many shots for?
It does not say here, unfortunately.
Okay.
I don't.
It sounds like they're not getting in their. They're not keeping the puck in their zone.
Or not getting out of the
They're
zone
playing back on
quickly.
their heels a lot with that.
Yeah, they're back on their
That
heels.
says
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
That they're not. They're not. They're playing more neutral zone,
Yeah.
their own zone, than they are in the opposing zone. Which that number would definitely be.
And you take a look at the Carolina Hurricanes, who are like in the top, one of the top teams in the league. They're only giving up 27 a game. So again, you're talking a difference about 8 shots a game between the two different teams.
Well, 8
But
shots. Could be
Carolina's
2
more.
goals.
They get the puck out of their zone. That's the key. If you get the puck out of your own defensive zone and transition quick into the neutral into the offensive zone, you got a better chance to win.
And that's where the Ellis injury, I think, has really hurt the team.
I think you're absolutely right because
100%.
you go from 1 shot, 1 rebound to 1 shot, 1 rebound, another shot,
God.
another. That's a goal. Eventually, you take shots and rebound shots are very important to look at, and it's a matter of if you're running around in your zone.
It's not
If you
going to
give
do
up
well.
6, 7 shots in what, you're not getting out of your zone.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, so when you keep creating that vast of hell in your defensive zone,
Yeah.
it's not going to work out well for you. And it seems like they have a ton of issues. They have a ton of goal scoring issues.
Which you wouldn't think of, because especially when you get a Cam Atkinson who can flat out put the puck in the net. I mean, he's shown to do that over this
zone.
career.
How's he going to put the puck in the net?
But that's the thing, exactly.
He's
If you
running
can't
backwards.
get it into the offensive zone, you're not going to let him shoot the puck and score. So
I also, as far as scoring goes, I think you've got a bottom 6 problem. I don't think their bottom 6, outside of maybe Scott Lawton, have been very good.
mhm.
I would agree with that, definitely.
You know, JVR has found his way to the bottom 6, and I think I saw a stat on him where he's like scored like 1 goal in his last.
He's
30
got to
games.
he's got to be top 6.
Yeah, so you got Giroux.
You're
Atkinson,
paying
and
him top
Farabee.
6. He's got to be top 6.
You've got Giroux, Atkinson, and Farabee all tied with 7 goals. And
See, that's it. See, I'm okay with Giroux at that number. I'm not okay with the other 2.
yeah, I
That
would
should
want
be,
Atkinson
that
up
should
to
be
10.
11, 12, and 7. And you
Konechny-
probably have 4 extra wins, 5 extra wins.
Travis Konechny, 5 goals, 5 assists right now. He
Trav- should be-
Konechny's got to pick it up.
Yeah. He should be at 10, 11 at this time.
Giroux is a -6 for the year so far. Atkinson a +9.
That shows me there's a lot of running around in their own defensive zone.
You think?
That's what
Yeah.
that shows me.
Yeah. Ristolainen -7. That is defenseman. That's no surprise. Keith Yandel -9.
Well, Keith
Lindblom
Yandel
has
was
not been on- Go ahead. I'm
he's
sorry.
not been on the. Keith Yandel was not brought in to be a defensive.
No. He's third pair.
Yeah, yeah, but with the Ellis injury again, he's had to play.
Which is he's going to get exposed.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, no doubt about that.
And yeah, it's the other problem. It doesn't affect the plus minus, but he's a power play guy,
Mm-hmm.
and if the power play is not working, he's not putting up the points he needs to be putting up. which is
Exactly.
on the power play.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
got a long way to go. It's early still in the season.
And we haven't even talked about Kevin Hayes.
Yeah, and
played,
he
what,
was
2
out
games?
for a while. Yeah, he was out for a while. So they're 21 games into the season right now. So they're about a quarter of the way through. And they're 14 points back of the Washington Capitals right now. So they've got some catching up to do. Obviously,
I'm
It's not
super
ended
interested.
yet, but
I'm super interested to revisit this to see where that
yeah,
there's not
Halfway
many
through
there's
and-
not many happy things that we can stamp on it. I'd love to see 2 quarters of the way through the season, you're like, oh man, they got better here, they got better here. That's what you want to see in the growth of a team.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is a contract year for Giroux, and
Ugh.
that's
He is
that's
leading the
part
team
that-
in points, though. He's 18.
He is, but the problem is, are they gonna continue to free fall to a point where now they're talking about wanting to trade him, to get him to a cup contender?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because the cup contenders want him.
And
Yeah.
frankly, he's a guy who deserves a shot. And
Oh,
if you can't get him
100%.
here,
Yeah, agreed. Absolutely agreed.
and even if he's not traded, he's got a no movement clause. He'd have to wait first anyway.
Mhm.
But even if you don't trade him, is he going to want to resign if he's looking at, he's
The worst power play, an adequate penalty kill, because he plays all the time. He's always on the ice.
You add him
If
to
he's got an okay unit and a crappy unit, and his line's not producing, because he's more of a passer than a shooter anyway. So, I mean, his line has to be plus 5 over him every time.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're not producing, why would he want to? He could go play third line, on the Bruins or on Edmonton. You know what I mean? And get his 20 goals, make his money, win a cup.
Win a cup. Yeah, exactly.
I would agree if he left. I wouldn't blame him for leaving at all.
No, I wouldn't either. But it would just be sad.
It's just another and it's another Flyer captain that we would trade away. It's just like that seems to always happen as well. It's kind of like they never.
It was
stay around
nice
for their entire career.
It was nice when Chemo got traded to Chicago.
Totally.
Yeah.
To see him win. Because he was. He retired after that, right?
Yes.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
It was kind of the Ray Bork thing. He was.
It made me feel good.
Yeah.
I don't feel like Giroux is at the point where it's like, oh my God, this is the last year. He's still got plenty of good hockey out of him.
No, I want to see them raise a cup with him as the captain. I really do. I really do. But I don't know if you're going to keep rebuilding constantly. Yeah. Eventually we're going to have to figure it out.
Yeah.
Whether that's the coach, the GM, or the management, we don't know.
Yeah.
But let's hope they progress. I have no answers. And it was literally. I was like, I have no answers. I think it's everything.
Yeah,
that is the big problem.
That is the big problem.
So hopefully they correct
I know for
something.
a fact though that Vigneault is probably missing his martinis. That's the thing. It's like he always had a martini whenever he won.
I love him as a coach.
Yeah.
I really do. I always have. I always thought he just always looked like he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when he was brought in, I was like, finally, we got like the Ken Hitchcock back. That guy, like when you're watching the other team and he's coaching it, you're like, that dude knows what he's doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So
I don't think he's the problem. I'll say that right. Absolutely. He's the one guy I'll check off.
It'd be interesting to see what would happen, when you get a Ryan Ellis back, he's fully healthy, and then you add a couple of additional pieces.
Yeah.
Who knows? But yeah, they've got a long way to go, no question.
Scoring up.
Still very early in the season. I'm not pressing the panic button as of yet, but I would say like if they can't get into the 4th position, by around middle of the year, or if we're talking like kind of, they got that long, break in February. I think they have also got, like, in this upcoming week, they got 5 games in 8 days because of the compressed schedule, because they've got the 3-week Olympic break. It's like, good grief. It's like, 5 games in 8 days. It's like, good Lord.
If they could come out of that 1-4, that would make me happy.
Heck, I'll even go with
it. But you have to do that before a break. Like, you have to turn those Jets on. If they don't, we're just going to be talking about the same thing later.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, gents.
Hold on.
Sorry.
I want to share with John, which harkens back to, I think, episode 48 again.
Nice.
If that was the one we were talking about, Flyer Hall of Fame, or maybe it was 50.
Might have been 50.
There was a guy I follow on Twitter put up a poll, said who was the better captain, Giroux or Richards.
Ooh, that's Giroux.
And I voted Giroux, obviously.
Yeah, I
replied and I said, just to follow on our discussion, I said Richards never should have been captain. Chemo, Pronger, Danny Briere, any of those would have been
any of those guys.
Choice.
Any of those would have been respectable, yeah.
And I put at the end, I said, and I will die on that hill.
Yes.
Yeah.
Richards was a great player, but I don't think he was the right.
Not at that age.
Somebody else made the point. Richards was a successful captain because he had a better team around him than Giroux's had for his captaincy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if he also gave Richards an A, he would be he would have been fine, and the team probably would have been better.
Oh yeah. No, I don't say keep him out of leadership.
Yeah, exactly. Like he was definitely not a C. He was definitely Giroux is. I was against Giroux getting it originally, but Giroux has grown into it, which we wanted Richard to do, and I'm okay with that. If you're going to grow into it, you're going to grow it. We didn't have anybody else at the time giving it to Giroux. It was a little different than the Richard situation.
True.
So I'm good with him being a captain now. I'm not going to say I would never never say it needs to go to somebody else.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He's a good captain.
Yep,
he's our captain, so we ride with him.
No doubt. All right, gents. Well, fifth topic, and this is kind of just a little bit off the beaten path. We are officially, of course, in the holiday season.
We're all chubby.
Post Thanksgiving, of course. But we wanted to kind of just throw this out there for our Two Noobs audience and kind of share with you what would be your go-to holiday dish. And it doesn't matter if it's something you want to eat during dinner time or if it's a dessert or whatever the case may be. What is your favorite holiday dish, Thanksgiving, Christmas, whatever the case may be? So I will go with Mr. John Tracy on that. John, what are your thoughts?
Oh, I'm weird. So Thanksgiving is simple. It's turkey, stuffing, mac and cheese.
Oh, there you go.
With another side, like gotta have cranberry sauce, and you gotta make the turkey gravy out of the drippings. That's how I roll in Thanksgiving. Christmas is the exact opposite.
Call the mac and cheese though.
Oh, dude, the mac and cheese. You need the mac and cheese.
Absolutely, I'm with John on that one.
You need the mac and cheese. That's my like only time I have parameters.
Okay.
Christmas, we're gonna do a couple things. We're having a ham for Christmas. We're doing it a little bit differently.
There you go.
We really don't have a plan, but like we had a plan. Like we have a plan for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
It's literally cranberry sauce, in a can. You got your homemade stuffing. You got your turkey. You got your turkey gravy. You got your mac and cheese. Done. Like that's what you're eating.
You know that's the menu. Yeah,
exactly. That's the menu. It's before we even think about it. That's the menu.
Yeah.
John, I'm thinking about doing something a little different for
No.
It's
turkey
been
only.
That's funny.
It's fun. It's awesome. It's awesome though. But that's when we brought this up, I was like, I totally got to tell that story because that's the only time dinner or any holiday is specific. Because we'll just change it up. Like, I think Christmas 2 years ago we did lasagna. Because we hadn't had lasagna in like months. And it was like, just make a lasagna. It'll be fine. Yeah, if that was on Thanksgiving, it would be sacrilege.
Oh, that's funny.
Welcome to my weird world.
Steve. Yeah, exactly. Steve, what would you usually have and your favorites?
So for Christmas Eve, we usually have a tradition of make your own pizza. We've started doing that the last couple of years. That's fun. We get like the dough from Giant.
Yeah.
I toss it around and
exactly. It dances a little bit.
So we do little personal sizes and everybody puts whatever they want on it.
Oh, that's awesome.
For our Massachusetts listeners, when he said Giant, he means Stop and Shop. Just to mess around.
That's awesome.
For Christmas dinner, ham is a traditional one. I don't mind. That's usually pretty good, but I've served it before, and I would do it again just because I think it's a fabulous meal. Is veal parm?
Yeah.
Get some veal cutlets, fry them up real nice.
Look at that.
Melt some provolone cheese over that.
On top of that,
Get a real nice marinara sauce in there. If we ended up doing something like that this year, I'd even do homemade pasta because I got a pasta maker for Christmas last year.
No kidding.
And I've discovered that is so much better than the box stuff. Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
Fantastic.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so that would be veal parm would be my ideal because I think it's also fancy too. It's
like, totally fancy.
Absolutely.
Do you like to bread it? Do you like bread it? Veal parm?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I get put Parmesan cheese and breadcrumbs, mix them together.
Look at that.
And then bread it. Oh, it's fantastic.
Oh wow. Oh, that's awesome.
I love anything that ends with parm. Egg parm, veal parm, doesn't matter.
Chicken
if
parm.
It ends with parm, I'll eat it. I have no issues with it.
Stuffed chicken parm, that's the best. If you ever had stuffed
Nice.
chicken parmesan, that's awesome. That's fantastic. For me, so we're very traditional when it comes to Thanksgiving. Usually the turkey, and you get we had asparagus as
Nice.
the greenery. I traditionally
That's my
have
favorite
made
greenery of all
either. I usually come in with the breads, so I usually, and I'm a big, as you guys both know, I'm a huge Revolutionary War guy. So City Tavern, when it was open in Philadelphia, was one of my favorite taverns to go to in a city. It was great. It's right in Old City off Second Street. It was wonderful, and they had a cookbook that came out, and one of them was Thomas Jefferson's sweet potato biscuits, and I made those, and they're usually bite sized, probably about that big, and it has a little bit of pecan in it, got a little bit of sweet, a little bit of sweet potatoes and all that kind of stuff. You need the dough out and all that kind of good stuff. So I usually bring that.
Nice.
This last year, being down in Colonial Williamsburg, I bought a sweet potato muffin mix, so I made kind of mini muffins and threw pecans in there. So that was kind of a little bit different. But usually I bring that to the table.
I feel that you are betraying the Revolutionary War era by doing this modern way. You should be growing your own wheat,
I know, seriously, right? Exactly.
processing it in the ways of the 1700s. You should be baking it in a hearth with a fire.
I really should, because
I gotta go get my
I'm
eggs.
literally within a hop,
back.
skip, and a jump away from Valley Forge Park, so I would totally agree with you. Like, I should rent like one of the huts out there and actually do it, and then just like bring it back.
And then he
It's
would
really-
never make it again.
Nobody would.
This is kind of what I brought. Oh my god, what is that?
I love to do traditional things in the kitchen for fun.
Yeah.
Just me and my wife love to be in the kitchen. I love using traditional methods, but it always ends with a couple curse words and laughter and like, not do that. That's stupid. We could just get this over here. It'll be easier.
Yeah. For Christmas, what we typically do is we'll exchange the gifts, of course, on Christmas Eve night, but we'll have like maybe some, small snack type foods, and so it's either the sliced bologna, which is just fantastic. You get the sliced bologna type of deal. You put down a cracker. I just eat that all day. But then we'll have like the traditional ham, of course, on Christmas night. But one of my favorite desserts on Christmas as a kid was pfeffernuss, and that was like a small cookie. That was all white powdered sugar, right?
Nice.
And that was fantastic. Pfeffernuss, I love. When my mom broke that out around December, I knew it was going to be Christmas time, and I was like, oh, I cannot wait,
Awesome.
for that to go. It was like a gingerbread cookie, essentially, but it was coated with white powdered sugar on top, so it would be like, your hands would be all powdered up with white sugar. It was great. It was one of the best cookies I ever had as a kid. And you don't see them often. You have to like look to find it, but it is available. It's like you just have to, you have to like know where it is and look for it, and then you'll be able to find it. But that's a great cookie. So that's one of my favorites.
I'm a more traditional chocolate chip cookie at Christmas time
There you go.
kind of guy.
Yeah.
But now it's great. Now we know you're full of baloney.
There you go. There you go. That's right. I pull it off on a podcast. What the hell? All the time, too. But yeah, let's transition to our happy segment, Johnny. And this is a very interesting video. It's yet another 117-year-old who has survived COVID. It's Europe's oldest known living person.
Before we start this, let's tell the backstory. So we were looking for a happy segment, and I said to Steve, pick a number. And Steve picked 117, so we did some research. We found... Let's share this story. There's no audio, so Matt, you're going to read along here for us.
I picked 117 figuring you would never find that.
That's the best part about this lady. This lady literally exists to prove you wrong, Steve.
Exactly. So this is Europe's oldest living person, and possibly the second oldest person in the world, has survived COVID-19. It really is remarkable. She recently celebrated her 117th birthday. She lives in Europe, I believe in Italy, if I'm not mistaken. Very European manner. She downed plenty of champagne, red wine, and port. My kind of girl. My God. But yeah, her name was Sister Andre, born Lucille Randon in 1904. She's French, currently resides in a nursing home in Toulon, France. And 81 of the 88 people in her home recently contracted COVID. She contracted COVID but she ended up surviving. She only had mild symptoms. She pulled through. She was not vaccinated for the disease. She says she probably won't be here next year, but her caretaker says she's been saying that for 10 years. I guess when you're 107, anything.
Exactly.
But my God, yet another.
I can't wait to revisit her next year.
I know.
For her 118th birthday.
I know.
I felt like we needed some mood music for that.
Well, maybe throw that in there. We'll see.
Yeah, maybe Steve could write something up real quick and we'll throw it over the video.
It really is remarkable. I think there was an article we found on the Food and Wine Network, if I'm not mistaken, a Food and Wine, whatever it was. But she said that she was like, I don't need the vaccine. Give it to somebody who needs it.
Yeah.
You know, for her, it was just like, okay, it just came down with a little bit of a cold. But, yeah, I mean, she was.
No, she's a trip.
I'm actually starting to, now that, this distrust in media we have, I'm actually starting to doubt the story. Maybe Food and Wine just made it up. A way to promote drinking more wine.
Possibly.
Now that I think about it,
Champagne, port, red
the story
wine
came off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, this lady beat up COVID and is 117 years old because she drank red wine. I wonder what message they're pushing.
One wonders, what's going on there? Yeah.
Media distrust.
But if it is true, good for her. That's awesome.
That's just amazing. Yeah. I'm just amazed at these folks that are just like they're 100 years old, 104, doesn't matter. It's like over the course that we've done Two Noobs, 61 episodes, and John and I have found all these articles of all these people jumping out of airplanes. That was my favorite. We found Millie jumping out of an airplane at 104. I mean, that was just crazy. That was absolutely crazy.
She still hasn't called me. I guess she's not a watcher.
I mean, you gotta get, well, maybe I'll have to give her a call. I don't know.
Hey, there you go.
I'll figure that out, but yeah. Well, that does it, gents. That wraps up episode 61 of Two Noobs Talking. And as always, it is my pleasure and honor to be talking alongside both of you. Steve, we want to thank you, of course, for coming alongside John and me.
It is always a pleasure to be here, gentlemen. I appreciate the invite.
And contributing as well. Just wonderful. Why don't we dive into our shameless plugs? I'm going to throw it over as Steve's squirting himself. I don't know what's going on up there. I'm going to throw
it's a long episode, man.
You gotta wake up there? I don't know what's going on. Throw it over to John. John, where can people find us, brother?
We are on Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Twitter, and Instagram for short videos. TikTok or Twitter being really short videos, but the reels on Instagram is where you can find us. TikTok, everywhere. We try to promote a lot of TikTok stuff. Facebook when we have time because Facebook sucks, but not as bad as Spotify. But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So that's just short videos that lead us to.
That's our main YouTube channel. Of course, it's the Two Noobs Talking podcast. Hit that notification bell. Hit subscribe. Hit like. Share the video, for crying out loud. Do all of those things. We would really appreciate it. Helps us get the word out faster. On the audio side, I'm going to throw it over to Mr. Murray, since he's a big fan of ours. Oh, my gosh. So where can people find us on the audio side? I know we're probably posted by
Podbean.
Yeah.
Podbean. Yes.
Yeah.
So like iHeartRadio.
There you go.
Google Podcasts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not an Apple guy.
You would eat that.
Oh yeah. I'm not an Apple guy. So, but apparently you can find it on Apple Podcasts as well.
Yeah.
We are Googleable.
Yes.
John, that's GOOGLABLE.
There you go. Google.
I've written it many
Google
times
us.
in my book.
There you go. Google us. You can find us on any audio station you want.
Awesome.
That way.
Other than Anchor and Spotify, because they suck.
Oh, God. Here it comes. John, I'm just going to pass this over here for crying out loud. I think it's slowly rising. I think it's left. Oh, John, it's coming back. Wait a minute. It's coming back to you. It's landing right on you.
Matt.
What?
Get rid of this.
Oh, God. No. Poof. All right, I'm just going to punch this right on out of here. There we go. All right, that's gone. Good grief. We got to, talk to the the hamsters and the midgets back there.
Who makes Spotify relevant?
Oh, I know. Just terrible.
It sucks so bad.
Well, that wraps it up, gents. And before we get out of here...
Oh, there's no show notes?
Oh, yeah, well, the show notes, yeah. I mean, we'll throw that in there.
That's two noobs talking at WordPress.com. There you go.
Just throw that in there, yeah. We've been trying to think about, maybe changing up the the address. We're just going to keep it two noobs talking at WordPress.com. Things like that.
Which in the near future, you're going to see our YouTube video on there. So there are things that are coming, trying to work that out, but we'll have a centralized location with that before we get a website. So
there you go.
John, getting technical.
Trying.
Yeah. John always does that. It's great. Loves it. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that wraps it up. Before I go, and before everyone else, does anyone have anything final to say before we get the heck out of here?
I think I covered it. Cuomo sucks.
Spotify sucks.
Dorsey sucks.
Eagles suck.
Yeah, Eagles aren't that good.
Flyers aren't all that good.
This was a negative podcast. I'm gonna go somewhere positive. I'm out. Bye.
But at least the food is good.
The food
is all the guys next.
John is walking out on veal parm, man. The ketchup is on the meat.
Yeah,
we ended happy.
Exactly.
This is bogus.
If you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you do read it, you're misinformed. That's a great question. What is the long-term effect of too much information? One of the effects is the need to be first, not even to be true anymore.